So, listen, today is the deadline. For all those who have been told that they are no longer exempt, or let me correct it, they may opt in to the domestic debt exchange program. And of course, in this case, I'm talking about that specific group of individual bondholders. For them, government expects them all to make their decision today. So how's it going? I mean, we've got a few hours of the day left. How many people have opted in? How many people have not? What will happen? Will Gabi Asayochidakun's prediction come to pass? Will scores of people find that their bonds are worthless by the end of today? Is government going to go ahead and default? Or will they find some other way of raising that or saving that 8 odd billion Ghana cedis that they believe they must save in order to qualify for this IMF program? What will happen? But more importantly, why do we not know what will happen? When government gave the ultimatum, what did they explain would be the outcome if by the end of that time not enough people had opted in? What did government say will happen by the end of today? Why are we not hearing from them? And by the way, let's make it clear, we have made several efforts to speak to the finance ministry to find out from them what the official position is. We are yet to get a position from them or a response from them. My question is why?
This is important because all of the conversations today, I'm sure there'll be meetings, there'll be people who will be still be engaging. I am told, even just last week by Friday, there were several other engagements. There are people who are trying to get government to review the exemptions list, include, and you know, my attention was drawn to the interesting part. The original December 5th statement that was issued, there was a part that was categorically stated when it came to the exemptions, treasury bills are exempted. Then he said others not included are, then he mentioned the individual bondholders, then others, which was later reviewed. There's a part of this conversation that Kojo, we should get something from, and government ought to speak on this matter. On one hand, we get the impression that our entire economy depends on this particular debt exchange program. Let's not forget, this is to send a signal of possible debt sustainability so that the IMF program will push through. There is the hope that next month we should be able to do some of that. What has not happened as we speak is that government appears to consider only one side. Government right from the beginning has been the grouping that's unwilling or has been very, very lackadaisical when it comes to engaging. You recall that meeting that was held before the main announcement. That meeting was supposed to be an information meeting. That people were worried that why are you informing us when you're supposed to engage us? Then they were told to later on go and bring proposals. Some of them went away, brought proposals, and they were outrightly rejected. Government appears not to be willing, even in the case of the grouping, that's the exemption that was granted to the pension funds. It was almost like Labour had to say, listen, if you don't do this, we are striking next week. Pushed to the wall, then government had to back down. Then it moved forward. Immediately they dropped that. They gave an indication that, oh, we are going to consider other ones too. It has become a one-man show from a grouping that did most of the harm to this economy. So you just ask yourself that big question. Why is government treating this like it belongs to a certain group of people, and so no matter what we say, it's final? Why is government not calling everybody to the table? Why are we not hearing more than one advice or one suggestion being implemented? Because it's collectively our problem anyway, or it's been made our collective problem. At first, those who felt that pension funds were problematic at a point in time, people who actually had pension problems, then when they were included, they were worried. Now, individual bondholders who were exempted from the beginning, and there was a lot of good reasoning given for exempting individual bondholders. All of a sudden, all of them do not hold again. And government, no matter what they have to do, they surely have to include this group too. Why is government not thinking hard and fast about this? If you lack ideas, why are you not entertaining ideas from the other side? But there's an elephant in the room. That elephant is, why is it that it is only these options that are on the table? How about government's own expenditure too? Who will lose out if government actually reviews? Because it's our expenditure. It's not what the government is spending. It's our money government is supposed to spend on our behalf. Why are we not reviewing that one too?
Good point.
Look, now, I've been asking a very simple question, and I keep asking that same question. Because, look, the reason government didn't add the individual bondholders in the first instance, because you have a financial stability fund that you want to establish to help these, asset managers, asset management firms, the banks, insurance, pension firms. But for the individuals, you cannot do that. I mean, how are you going to say, my fees are due this year and I was going to use my bond to pay, so government put in place this thing for me? So far, there's nothing like that for the, individual bondholders. And so you're looking at this because then the various institutions or regulators could actually come in and assist them when necessary. The question is, how is government engaging the individual bondholders? Nothing. All government is done, you add individual bondholders on the 24th of December, when they were getting ready for Christmas. Then you say individual bondholders will be part. And if you realize, until this year, nobody was talking about it because everybody was, enjoying his Christmas. Then all of a sudden, after Christmas, it dawns on people that, look, this is a problem. You have capital expenditure of 27 billion Ghana cedis. Really, in times like this, what sort of capital expenditure do you want to engage in? In times like this, who says we will not understand that times are hard? And so when you tell us that, hold on, let us, move the economy to a certain level before we come back to these things, we will understand. We only would want to take part in non-discretionary expenditure. As for now, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you have to pay salaries, you have to pay some debts that you owe. You can't do anything about it. So for those debts, you're going to pay. For the salaries, you're going to pay. And we can understand and say, that's the way to go. So, and government also, who says that if we reduce the size of government, it will not reduce our goods and services budget? Who says that today, a minister who is paid by the state, why does that minister have to be giving fuel coupons also by the state? It's not reducing fuel coupons to 700 Ghana cedis that matters. It is totally scrapping it. It's to say that we will no longer provide fuel coupons for any minister. Because you see, when you talk about burden sharing, the burden sharing must be such that all of us must see the government also taking part in the burden sharing. You start by, first of all, reducing the size of government. Reduce the size of ministers by some, almost 40%. Bring it from the 85 now to 83 anyway.
After all, the
50.
ministries that are existing today, they are not projects for them to do.
No.
We don't have money for them to run.
For them.
So exactly what's the business in always having a lot of bureaucracy which is doing virtually nothing? And we are just compounding costs.
Master, scrap those, reduce the number of ministers, reduce the number of these deputy CEOs and the establishment of government institutions. They are necessary. When you have done that, you realize that you would have saved us a lot of money and you will not even need to touch individual bondholders.
Kojo, there's a lot of pain, frustration, a lot of uncertainties, and there's certainly a lot of panic. If you go back to listen to voices of, these are persons who have worked really hard. Most of them didn't even do public service. They did private work, and they saved duly, and they're supposed to be enjoying the benefits of having worked hard and invested. And now they're going through all these uncertainties. The question that I ask is, if you insist that you're not going to join this program, what are your options? What will happen to those bonds? And I've been asking again, can you even sell off your bonds today, which I understand it's not even an option on the table, because really, who is going to risk buying that? Let's remember that leadership, those who are leading this whole conversation, who are making the decisions, they are not the bosses. They're actually serving the people. And it's about time we realize who the bosses are and who the servants are. We should stop behaving like somebody, the person who is rather the boss is the one serving you. And I think that leadership must get this once and for all. It's unnecessary panic and uncertainty in the system, and people don't need it.
In any case, we should be hearing from them more often on this matter. at least today, is it 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%? Have they reached their 80% subscription? Because this is the last day that you're talking about. What does it mean if you don't complete that particular process? This panic statement from Gabi Asarachidako, is that the reality on the ground today? Government ought to be speaking to these matters because you're not coming up with any innovative or ingenious ideas on how to go about the next thing. But, okay, yeah, you were saying something.
I was just going to wrap with this. So I was just going to say, look, do you know what I would like to hear from government? And if I was, if I was in the position of any of these bondholders, this is what I would like to hear. Before you came to tell me that as a result of your decisions, I must lose my money, before you came to tell me that, or that you are going to default on what you owe me, before you come and tell me that, I want to know the decision-making process you went through. What other alternatives did you consider and discard before you determined that me paying for your mistakes is the only way forward? What was your decision-making process? What did you eliminate before you were left with me, my money, as your only recourse? I want to hear that. Not that you are on your own. Yeah. So if you are new to the conversation, you're welcome. People are bleeding. People are bleeding. Out of the blue, on Christmas Eve, it was announced by government that individual bondholders who were previously exempt from the domestic debt exchange proposal of government now could opt in. And when they say you can opt in, what it really means is that you can either opt in or your bonds become worthless. So faced with two horrible options, these groups came together and rejected government's offer. Today is the deadline. Two of the groups are represented by our two guests, Senyo Hosi and Kpebu. I guess the obvious question is, today is the deadline. What are you going to do?
Let's just throw away the myth. And I think that you journalists should also educate the public much better and not reinforce the falsehood. It is not a case that your bonds will become worthless. The bonds that you currently have are more powerful, more sustainable than the ones that have been proposed. You have 4 different bonds in this particular entire mix. One is the GOG-CD bond, the GOG local USD bond. You have the Dachi bond and the ESLA bond that I engineered and designed, conceptualized, and was even supposed to go for free services and management. Signed off. Eventually, somebody went to create 88 million to put in it there and create a different SPV. We'll leave that one for another day. The last two, the Dachi bond and the ESLA bonds, are structured papers with secured source of payment. You have taxes that have been irrevocably assigned to the SPVs. So these are not bonds directly issued by government, but government acts as its sponsor. So those taxes have been fully committed to these 2 bonds. Those taxes are not impaired in any form. For ESLA, it is the part of the ESLA Levies Act, some of the Energy Debt Recovery Levy. Those monies go there. So as long as you buy fuel, the ESLA bonds are being paid for. What government simply did was that I owe the energy sector people so much, both power and petroleum. I don't have the money to, but I can assign this particular money in this new tax to a particular entity called ESLA PLC. Then ESLA PLC can issue the bonds. The ESLA PLC has trustees, so they are responsible to ensure that everybody who subscribes actually gets his money. So the money goes to ESLA PLC every time, and they manage the financial engineering. KPMG is part of it. You have Benchi Enchikil, Lechina and Kuma, part of it. You have very structured entities around it. And the law even governing ESLA PLC is not Ghana law, it's English law. So that fight is not a fight that anybody should even start having a conversation about. Have you stopped buying petrol? When you were coming here, didn't you buy petrol? Means you have funded that bond. So nobody with an ESLA bond has any risk of impairment as far as that is concerned. Your risk will only crystallize when petrol stops. Then the next one is the Dachi bond. It is the get fund levy. That's been irrevocably assigned. If government wants to change that, it means government must pay all the bondholders immediately. Government cannot do anything about that. Then you have the Government of Ghana bond and both papers. You don't have any extra special prospectus apart from basic standard stuff. The law governing that is the basic commercial law that you have governing any kind of creditor arrangement. With the local and the USD and CD local Government of Ghana bonds, you actually have mandates and capacity to sue government and also attach any asset of government. But with the new bond that government is asking you to take in replacement for this, you lose that immunity. So as a matter of fact, government can decide that next year, this year they said they didn't want to pay any coupons, right? Next year I won't pay you. If government says I won't pay you, you can't do FOCO. So now you tell me which one is more useless. So this is common sense. Nobody should miseducate anyone. The paper that stands the risk of being worthless and useless is the new paper. The old paper that you have, the new, old bonds or the bonds that you have now, whether through your collective investment schemes or directly, is the most powerful one. That is why government wants you to take the useless one.
So let me play devil's advocate for a moment here. We are talking about debt. Government owes these bondholders. In any debt situation, if the person who must pay says, I have a problem and I can't pay, does the theory not all immediately go out of the window?
No,
because
no. It depends on time. So let me tell you. I said that
the reason why I
when you say I cannot pay, you have to show capacity and inability to actually pay. So one, you take the Dachi bond, you take the ESLA bond, the cash flow, there's no problem. Then secondly, you take the Government of Ghana that hasn't got any securitized flow apart from just the general consolidated fund and government's own financing activities. That's supposed to fund that one. That one I'm going to give you another insight in there. You currently today look at your budget approved by Parliament. You have 32 billion provision in there for interest payment that government has taken approval for. You have 27 billion that government says I will really want to spend on capital expenditure. Last year it spent 15 billion. Ghana has never spent 27 billion before. In fact, if government was even having building this culture of spending so much in capital expenditure, with the borrowings it had, we wouldn't be where we are. Of all the net borrowings that this particular government has accrued, over 171 billion, only 1/3 went into capital expenditure. And this 1/3, we also know how the corruption eats into the real value of the thing itself.
Senyo, I want
so what's this grammar? You said that you don't have money and you are driving a Lamborghini.
I want us to
will somebody who is driving a Lamborghini and telling you that he can't pay you your 50,000 cedis, would that person make sense to you that he says he hasn't got money?
I want us to come to the alternatives available to government next. But first, let's settle this issue of what options are available to those who hold these bonds. And you've, if I may, I want to bring in Martin just for a moment. You've laid out the legal positions here. My question is this: in practice, the money that we are assuming is held by ESLA PLC and ought to be available for the payment of these bonds, is it not government that's been collecting that money and has to hand it to ESLA PLC? If that has not happened, or if it is not up to date, or if there is any problem with that process, what happens?
That process does not need any discretion on the part of any finance minister. It's an automated process. Central bank, everybody's in there. I say be anyhow. So that one in your conversation, it is done. It is a defined process. That's why last week they paid. Today, as we speak, but in the next few hours, they are paying another money. Government cannot refuse to, because the risk to government is just dire. They can't dare. So people would have to try and sort of cooperate and help. And that's why you have the banks who have a certain structure and benefit, who are also looking at ways to support. Individuals don't have a benefit. They don't have any support system. There's no financial stability fund. There's nothing. There's no forbearance benefit. There's nothing that you keep on your personal balance sheet. Who keeps a balance sheet as a person in this country? Please, the value is not the same. So I beg you in the name of God, don't misinform anybody. The only reason why none of us is in court, because it's not a crime for anybody who owes you to tell you that, can we change the terms? It's up to you to change. And the Attorney General has been clear, crystal clear. Mr. Finance Minister, hey, you can't do FOCO until the people willingly want to change it. That's why they've been careful. On the media, they sell fear. In the media, they sell fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We call it FAD. Dump that FAD. We are a sovereign. Our national anthem tells us that we should resist oppressors' rule. We should be bold to defend the cause of our freedom and our rights. So let nobody pump any fear in you. You are being very patriotic to make sure you stand right for this country. Our money, no matter. Government has the money. You have gotten the budget for it. What government wants to do, and if you give me the chance, I'll put up some few slides so people will really understand what we are dealing with here. Government wants to practically create extra fiscal space of 22 billion for itself. What is it going to do with it in this campaign time? You are practically going to shift wealth from hardworking individuals to the pockets of your contractors and your political apparatchiks because you are in your last mile of your tenure. It is evil. Exodus 5:1. Let our people go.
That's all.
Great. So I mean, let me bring Martin in now. I mean, you started this somewhere last week or so. Now, today is the deadline.
Yes.
So far, have you heard from government?
No, we haven't formally heard, but I think we are picking up indications that government may accede to our request. But I wonder why they are taking so long. And you know, to further bolster that information that we got, you see the tweets that Gabi sent a tirade lamenting about why individual bondholders want to opt out and the rest. That for me reinforces the notion that government may accede. But as I say, in all of this, timing is very, very important. They could have prepared it early, and then this morning they would have blasted it out so that you save us this extra trouble of having to continue advocating when you are about to accept.
And people are not sleeping.
Yes, people are not sleeping. Don't take us through that because we started getting indications as far back as last Friday.
Someone called me today. Their husband has got stroke.
That the economic management team had seen sense in what we were saying and they were going to accede to the request. That was Friday. Saturday, Sunday. Why are they being slow? This usual kukwasa. So that in the meantime, people are getting palpitations. It's not the best. Once you accept that, look, you took a very terrible decision, very wrong. It didn't even have cabinet approval. Yeah, Winston, you follow these matters very well. So far, indications show that it wasn't even accepted and approved by cabinet. So it's just a decision of a few in government, Ufuriata and his inner circles, which is totally wrong. Such a very serious matter. Elsewhere, you follow the other jurisdictions. Even Parliament has a role. And you know something, even paragraph 278 of the budget, they stated that they will consult all relevant stakeholders before coming out with the exchange. It's there, paragraph 278 of the budget. So how do you do this U-turn? You see what the majority leader said on Friday when we met him? He said, no, this thing is going to wipe out the middle class. That is the majority leader's verdict, that this program will wipe out the middle class. Who does this? You want to kill citizens? You want to destroy businesses in the name of building more roads, more infrastructure? No, it doesn't work that way. We've read it ad nauseum. That Article 36 says that, look, cut your coat according to your cloth. Set your priorities right. That when you are developing, make sure that just as we want to maximize development, we should also maximize welfare, freedom, happiness, and livelihood. And I think to emphasize
the Christmas that they gave us, how could you be happy at Christmas on the 24th?
Yes, 24th.
What kind of life is this?
So, Winston, indulge me to just read 36.1 so that it clinches the point. So I don't see how a lawyer would advise government to go ahead, because this is a constitutional breach. When you are develop in such a way that the citizens' livelihood are secured. It says this: the state shall take all necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare. That's 1. 2. Freedom. 3. And happiness of every person in Ghana. 4. And to provide adequate means of livelihood and suitable employment and public assistance to the needy.
Now, you've talked about information you're picking up, and that information you're picking up probably would have told you that there also would have to be, other considerations. Assuming that by close of today, you do not hear from government, what will you do?
There's going to be a demonstration, gargantuan demonstration. Actually, we have instructions to write to the regional police, Dr.
Occupy Jubilee
Gariba.
House loading.
Dr. Gariba, we are sending a notice to him. By close of today, we are sending a notice for a
This
demonstration.
morning, our registration, our numbers had reached 75,671. And the thing crashed. It has crashed, though.
Yeah.
It has crashed. I hope, Divine, you'll be able to get it back. If you have, then God bless you. This one, we are not taking prisoners on this matter. Let's take time and let's walk through the arguments. Let's all understand. So it's not that people are just sort of making noise. One, you borrowed 170-something billion. You only use 1/3 for capital expenditure. From the 1/3, we all know the ideology that goes around it. This is Ghana.
Yeah, and the president was flying in private jets, luxury, enjoying himself.
60% of this money, 113 billion, for economic consumption.
By the way,
And then you ask
there
the
are some
question.
slides illustrating what Senyo Hosi is saying. If you go onto our Facebook page, or if you're on our YouTube channel right now, as you're listening to Senyo explain, there are some slides to accompany the points he's making. So you can follow that there.
So you have so much that's been spent. But for an economy to sustainably grow, not the pump money and spend the money and go. Like PGF, we spend money, we still don't have anything to show for it. You really have to invest a lot more in capital expenditure. That will actually sustain it. Solo growth model. And then the productivity of your people. So we spend all this money doing consumption. Where is this consumption going? Sami, please, next slide. Next slide. You had increase in SOEs, 86 to 177. Increasing public sector workforce, 600 to 900,000. My brother, job for the boys. We have an unproductive public sector. We have technology that's come in. What was the reason to expand it? Then you take money from the private sector because you crowd out the private sector and you have little investments going on in the private sector to rather create sustainable jobs. Not NAPCO. That after 2 years you come back. You appoint multiple deputy CEOs. You just expand the whole size of government. You are funding the lifestyle of Ghana's largest number of ministers we've ever had.
Can you imagine?
Everybody with V8, everybody with business class, everybody, in fact, the V8 is not, they even give you a saloon in addition, and all kinds of communities. And everybody with that power, with influence, also uses it negatively to facilitate the ideology that this country has been suffering from. With more debt came more interest. And then you have flagship programs that you didn't have funding for. Next slide. All right, now this is where the thing that people are not realizing the game is. If you add the ESLA transfers that and then you add, because they are trying to take ESLA too, and then you add the domestic interest payment, you have 34.38, so almost 34.4 billion. That is the portion that has been committed in the budget, and they've got approval for. Then you now come to the fourth line, or the fifth line rather. You see the interest payment on these eligible bonds is 23 billion. Right? That's about 68.19. Out of this amount, they say they are doing the cash something, the 2% that they want to do the DD interest payment, tender, cash tender 2%. You take out 662 million Ghana cedis. At the end of the day, what are you left with? 22.7 billion. They've collected expenditure approval for, but they are going to save this money immediately. This is government wanting to splash money and to be the hottest guy in town. Run as many projects, but in the process, what you would have done is transfer wealth from savings and investments of your own citizens, 1.3 million citizens and 6.5 million livelihoods to fund projects for chop chop and then collect funds. Why do you want us to pay for your political gimmicks when we've given you all this while? We've given you our taxes. You increase it, we accept it. We don't go on demonstration. We don't do kumi prekum. But now we have to die once and for all. Because if you have just abused our taxes all these years, and it's not enough, now you want to put your hand in our pocket just so you fulfill your own political aspirations. Now go to the next slide. All that we are seeing here is one question that everybody must ask. Do you really, really, really need this money for this, IMF program? IMF has told us that they didn't ask government to come and do this thing. They've been clear. You go to their website, they will tell you. And me, I have friends in the IMF. I have mates in the IMF. I have friends on this program. Anything I want to know, I will know. You yourself in your own publication, the last amendment they brought, they said they needed 80% of what the eligible bonds. So the deep blue part you see on the screen, that is the 80%. These individual bondholders, let's be very clear what we are talking about here. We are not talking about just some bourgeois people sitting somewhere. We are talking about Antiesi, who is selling gogo rice in Medina market. And every day says, I'm putting aside 100 cedis of my profit to save and build something, Midachinti. So puts the money in maybe Data Bank M Fund, Tessa Capital, Triple T, puts the money in EDC, Fidelity, Flip, something like that. These are the people. All of them combined, about 11%. When you take it, don't you still have your big blue circle? This big blue part, don't you still have it? And you even have surplus, which will cover the pension funds. So why is it that you want to go and destroy the lives of 6.5 million livelihoods? Next slide.
Very
so question.
Unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional.
Very unconstitutional.
There is no need for it. You don't need this for it to happen. When government came to say that because of the crisis, we wanted COVID levy, didn't we pay? They said they wanted an increase in VAT, didn't we pay? They are increasing PAYE, haven't we paid? So what is Grandma Bay Winsu free? Now the next question, E-levy, you brought it inside. We shout, we are still paying. Nobody has gone to loot over it. Now look at it. Now you talk about the value of your bonds. Your value of your bonds, the time you invested, if you invested 100%, with this new proposal, at the same coupon rates that you invested in, which are actually lower than rates today, half of your debt is wiped, and that's what government is hoping to achieve. Half is debt by halving your investment. Massa, why? If you look at today's rates, which is the alternative treasury bill rate, it means your money will come down. Only the real value of your money is only 30% of what you really put in. So if you put 1 million cedis, your money has become 300,000. If you put 10,000 cedis, your money has become 3,000. Who does this? If you look at the inflation that we are in today, that we are not seeing whether we are going or we are coming.
Yes, 54%.
It means that your 10,000 has now become 11,180 Ghana. 1,000 to Mpua ball. You understand?
That is when you combine the effect of inflation. If you
that was just the effect of inflation alone will bring your 10,000.
Just the
effect of inflation alone will bring your money down to 1,180. 1,000 to
you need to go and look at these slides.
I'm telling you, these are the facts of the matter, and then people go around and telling you that this deal is better. Look, God forgive every one of you who went to school that Ghana sponsored, and you sit somewhere and lie to the people of Ghana because people don't have literacy. And those of you who have literacy, you have a calling on God for you to use it constructively to the people of your country. Tell them the truth. In front of one guy. Individual bonds. All we are saying here is that if you look inside the budget for this year, there is individual bondholders, and TSU, Kofi Minta at Abozo Kai, or Mr. Komsi sitting in his office and maybe he has big money, whatever it is.
But he had to work very hard for it.
He earned his money.
Sleepless nights working.
If you take your entire CAPEX budget of 27 billion and you take out 6.6 billion out of it, look at this small piece of pie
Yeah.
that you would have to just pay people,
Yeah.
individuals. But because of greed, you want to keep all this one, and in addition, go and collect 22 billion and chop.
Then there is the contingency fund. That one to
No,
27
you see that
billion.
one. So that 27 billion contingency. You know, I'm an economist, so I have to balance it small for because it's actually for energy sector spending. It means it just tells you that there's a major hole in the energy sector, and they are not coming at it clearly. So you see it in the broad summary. You won't see those details, but you have to go down. So if you take Appendix 3C, you see more of these details in the budget. As Senyo Hosi, we say we will pay. You have increased, we will pay. So now this small money that you owe the people, you want to go and do whatever, whether it is, I don't know what you want to go and do, whether I want to build airport or whatever I want to do, and the income, the money you borrowed all these years, if you were spending it on capital expenditure, this country will not be where it is. Tell me one industry that has been constructively transformed with all the debt that we have. I'm in the agri sector, with all the billions that we run into the agri sector. Show me one particular industry line or subsector that's been well structured. None. Every day we have a crisis. Please, government, you've wasted the opportunity. We trusted you. Nobody was querying this government anything. Right now, you have come and you have a problem. The problem now, you cause some. That's the first thing you have to understand. Nobody cause some. If you want us to pay, you say we should pay taxes. We have paid it. But as we sit here, we are having more haircuts. Your salary, has it gone up?
Nope.
Inflation has chopped your salary 54.1%. Haircut. Don't you have friends and then neighbors or family members who have become unemployed? Don't you have nephews who have left the school and left university and don't have a job? All these people, you have to say momo to them small. When you say meba, you have to say momo to all of them. That one too, it is social haircut. Now, you are sitting there, after all this cutting, you yourself, the value of your investment right now, if you want to even go and cash it right now, you won't get it. You get less than half. Another cut. So the Ghanaian working there as an individual, he is a cutted human being going. They are cutting. Then now you want to come and take his savings. I must comment some crunchy anchor. I don't go to your church. But God bless you for speaking up for the voiceless. Those pastors sitting there and walking around in Jubilee House and not speaking the truth to our presidents, to our leaders. God forgive you. Who is going
Ajinasari also spoke
thank you very much.
Ajinasari,
These are the monies we all go and collect and come and pay offering. We invest our money. When we get some, at the end of the year, we try and pay big tithes.
So the
You think that this will affect only us?
Senyo, the Occupy Jubilee House, what form is it taking?
We'll get there. It is loading. It's not happening
Demo,
yet. It is loading.
demo.
It is loading.
Yes.
At this one, the president is our father. And then we are sitting there, people are trying to steal our wealth. He wants to cut us. We are already cutted human beings going already. What are the people? Look, somebody called me yesterday. Winston. The guy has been building money for the last 5 years. He has reached 30,000. He wants to go and do his masters. And his son is also going at the same time to do his first degree. He is crying in the middle of the night. He can't sleep. He can't even tell his wife.
5 years to
I mean,
build
how
30,000.
wicked can you be to go and put your hand in this guy's pocket? Why you would dang? Levy, when he says, "What jiwsika onye oshe," when you collect bushia and then you come and bring a tax, he doesn't complain. We run down the energy sector, they will come and collect Energy Service Act. We run down Get Fund, they will come and collect the Archie bond. We all keep running. Politicians will keep running, and all the time we have to pay. We've been paying and paying with taxes, and I think that the middle class should wake up. This should be common. This should be a wake up. They're teaching us sense that even the taxes now is not even enough. It is your savings they are coming for. Very soon they'll come for you, the human being.
Martin, you speak for such a large number of these people, just as Senyo does. And we've heard their stories. The desperation that they are faced with
Very harrowing.
in a month like this. Now that when Senyo lays it out like that, it makes you wonder what decision-making process resulted in this domestic debt exchange program. But for most people, their biggest problem is the posture, the communication or lack of it. of government. You say you haven't heard from government since
formally.
you spelt out your terms.
Yes. Yes.
So if this day ends without you hearing from government, and your next option is demo, does it mean that you accept that if you haven't heard from government by the end of today, then there is a default?
There's no default.
No. So like what we are
So
saying.
what will you be demonstrating for if you are still retaining the value?
Look, what's happened is that you see, though there's no default on paper, you see, John Kuma gave a hint that they can decide to default. So the difference is this: the money is with government. If government wants to pay you, it's easy. Government will just pay you like how they've been paying in the past. But if they decide not to pay, it means that you have to spend money going to court. Then there is the time lag between starting a case, finishing, and then coming into execution. It's all time. That's how come we are pushing government so that government will just rescind the decision. Then government will pay. Then could you let's also add that fortunately for us this year, it's not even all the 8 billion that matures. It's 6.6 billion. That's due this year. You see it? 6.6 out of the 8 to 10 billion. That's what is due this year. So government can pay. And then also we are soliciting the help of the majority leader, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu, the Asante Hene, Garmanche, the Catholic Bishops Conference, right? The Council of State. We've sent letters to them to mediate. So we'll be doing all of that pari passu. So there's a lot that we are asking people in our society to, opinion leaders, to help us. The chief imam, not forgetting the chief imam and all the people. Yes.
You see, the thing is that everybody should understand there is no default by government to the day your bond is due and the government hasn't paid. Government says, I owe you. I want to change the terms of the debt. All right. I've been driving the Range Rover. I want to still keep driving the Range Rover. I actually want to add a Vela to it. So because of that I want to do, I cannot actually pay you your money that you use for your children's school fees. I need to take me to my children to Harvard. So I can't give you your money that you need to use to take your children to what do you call it, Legon. So can I change the terms of my debt? He has made an offer. It's up to you to accept or not. If you reject it, your existing agreement will still stand. So everybody should feel free and go about your normal duties. Just don't accept it. Just reject it. When you reject it, you keep going. There's nothing that's going to happen to you. When your time is up, they'll pay. Today, as we are speaking, I've even got notice. They've even paid some right now. They know they cannot say they won't pay.
Now they gave notice that they will pay all those before.
No. What they are talking about, we're talking about was capitalizing interest.
No, they'll say
up to the time
that they'll pay some interest before.
No, whatever, because the program, if somebody hasn't changed the terms, you can't say you won't pay. So they are paying. And I'm telling you, they will pay. There's no way they can't pay. The day they say they can't pay, that day you should chop Christmas, because we are here. IBF and our legal team, we are here to enforce your right for you. More importantly, realize this: the whole of this year, you won't get anything anyway. So if you keep on to your old bonds, you have a better chance of getting everything. Because they can't turn their backs. Esla, the money is coming. Simon Donu, everybody knows him. His reputation is on the line. KPMG, they put their words there. Their reputations and institutions on the line. They won't sit down for government to go and renege, and then they are the trustees. Hell no, it's not going to happen. So that's a bond. It's not even Ghana court that will say that the politicians are controlling the judges. I mean, with respect to ESLA, it is in the UK. By the time one suit hits them there, they themselves will advise themselves, and the individuals there are exposed. So please don't worry at all. Attorney General is actually even on your own side. Attorney General has told them not to do what they are doing, but just the way Pharaoh sometimes was stubborn, and he didn't listen to Exodus 5:1.
Let my people go.
If you don't deal with this thing right, you and your army will drown in the Red Sea. So Exodus 5:1, Onya, let my people go.
And on that biblical
so hashtag say no
to DDE.
Say no
to DDE.
Yanning.
And on that biblical note, and it is aptly from the Old Testament, which happens to be, which appears to be a favorite of our finance minister. We say thank you to our guests, Senyo Hosi and Martin Kpebu, for laying it all out. We now understand their proposed way forward was government's proposed way forward.
Just cut your expenditure budget by
your
CAPEX budget by
we need to hear
20%.
from
and
them.
pay
So
the
stay
people and
tuned.
let them go.
If you're going to hear anything, it'll be right here on Joy 99.7 FM.